Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Restoring Hope with Crosswinds Counseling. I'm your host, Curtis Smith. Thank you for being with us tonight. We are so pleased to have you with us, and a tremendous thank you to our community partners that make the show possible: Tesco, Prime 47 Downtown, and Shepherd Community Center. We would not be here without each of them, and of course, thanks to our friends at WHMB TV 40 as well. Tonight, we don't want to simply thank our partners. We want to introduce you to one of them. Shepherd Community Center is making a real and significant difference in the lives of people all over our community. And tonight, it is my honor to introduce you to their Assistant Executive Director, Andrew Green from Shepherd Community Center. Andrew, thank you for being here tonight.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Tell us a little bit about Shepherd Community Center and the amazing work that you guys are doing around Indianapolis.
Sure. So Shepherd is a ministry, a Christ-centered ministry on the Near East Side of Indianapolis, and we are celebrating actually 36 years of ministry in that neighborhood. And Shepherd is connecting with kids and families to help break the cycle of poverty, and we really do that through relationships. So any of our programs, we often refer to it as our continuum of care, because we work with kids basically from birth through college, into career, and their families. But any of those programs are really just an opportunity to build a relationship, introduce people to Christ, and walk alongside them to help break that cycle.
Andrew, tell me about the difference in treating poverty, in helping it in a temporary way, and breaking that cycle, as you said, getting to the root of what lies at the root of poverty, to make sure that it's not just putting a Band-Aid on it, but it truly is breaking the cycle. How do you guys do that versus treat basically the symptoms?
Yeah, it's often key to that is that relationship. And so sometimes it means addressing a physical need on the front end, one of those symptoms, really what you defined as a symptom.
Yeah. And
it's looking at a symptom, but then building a relationship in order to go deeper and look at what are some of the root causes. So even from, that happens on an individual level, but even from a neighborhood perspective, we have the opportunity to look at what are some of those root systemic issues that impact so many of our families, and how can Shepherd be a part of solutions to those, and how can we empower neighbors in that, as opposed to just addressing and meeting a physical need. So we take a really holistic approach, because we see poverty impact really every area of somebody's life. So any of our programs are going to look at physical needs, emotional needs, academic needs, and then foundational for us is the spiritual need. And we see poverty impact all those areas, so we try to address all of those areas from a programmatic perspective, but in that context of relationship.
That sounds like incredibly difficult work, because it feels like a lot of people do get stuck in that generation after generation, and breaking the cycle is so difficult. Why does poverty take such a hold on generation after generation and keep people down in it and unable to break out of it?
That's a really great question, and something that we continue to dive into to figure out how can we journey alongside families in that. But I think one of the biggest things that we see is just what a child, since we have the opportunity to work with kids and families, we see it so often that a child is going to obviously learn what's around them. Their environment is a part of that. Their family is a part of that. So when it's something that is learned and passed on, that's what ends up making it generational and so much more difficult. Obviously, there's a lot of barriers already existing. Some of those are interpersonal barriers. Some of those are systemic barriers. But those barriers play a role in that, but it's also what a child knows, what they learn. And so when you're talking about building a relationship with somebody and presenting a new concept, a new way of thinking. A lot of times we talk about future thinking, or what's your future story? And that's not a concept that a lot of kids learn in our neighborhood, because everything's about survival in the moment, whether it's about getting food or being safe. And so when you're talking survival, you're not thinking, what's my future look like? You're thinking, what's tonight look like? What's tomorrow look like? But when we start saying, what's college look like? What's a career look like? That's a lot of times a foreign subject.
Feels a million
Yeah.
miles away, a million years off, right?
Absolutely. And when you're thinking of it from that versus survival, you can understand why. And that's ingrained in a lot of our neighbors, is that immediate tyranny of the urgent, what's right in front of them. And you can understand why it is that way and how difficult that can be to change and to break that kind of a cycle.
The need for mental health services has gone up across all populations, all demographics. I suspect that for low-income families, it's the exact same situation. Here this last year and a half, 2 years, has been just a skyrocketing of the need for mental health services.
Absolutely. You see, again, when we're talking about kids and we're talking about adults and families, it's the same thing that's happened in our community as we've seen in a lot of different places. There's already a lot of stressors. There's already a lot of barriers that are there. There's already a lot of stigma that's attached to mental health and receiving services. So you put all of those together, and then you add on to that a pandemic and the stress that comes with that added stress, and we see that need continue to skyrocket for that mental health component and making that accessible to our neighbors.
I know Shepherd and Crosswinds have a very like-minded, faith-based foundation.
Yeah.
Besides that, why is the partnership with Crosswinds Counseling so important to Shepherd Community Center?
It's really about, one of the main reasons is it's about that expanded capacity. You know, we've had a mental health counselor as a part of our team. We've seen that growing need. We see the need even more in the last 18 months, like you've said, and we've wanted to look at how can we do that and expand capacity for our neighbors so that we can get mental health counseling in front of more of our neighbors. And so working together with a group that's been doing it for a long time, understands the ins and outs of it, and can help us look at expertises in particular areas is really important for us. We know that a need for a kid is going to look different for a need for an adult, and we'd love to hone in on some of those specific areas, and we see that possibility for specific areas as well as expanded capacity in a partnership.
Last thing, Andrew, for someone who's watching tonight, maybe they're middle class, upper middle class, they don't run into a lot of low income, they don't run into a lot of poverty in their day-to-day lives, they don't see it for themselves a lot. What would you say to them in terms of how can they help, how can they get involved, what can they do to come alongside Shepherd and make a difference in our community?
Yeah, it's about, we invite volunteers to join us in relationship again. So the opportunity to build relationships. So sometimes that's meeting with a kid for tutoring, academic tutoring in school and out of school time. There's some really neat opportunities there. There's some other opportunities we have meeting a physical need, like delivering groceries. So we have partnered with Gleaners in order to deliver food in our neighborhood so that we can build a relationship. Food can be an entry point to a deeper relationship to look at some of those other systemic needs that a family might have. Maybe it's employment, maybe it's housing, a couple of those areas where the entry point of food allows us to have those conversations. And we invite volunteers to join us in that as well. But it's those opportunities through programs to build relationships, and we'd love to have donors and volunteers come and join us in that and build relationship with our neighbors.
Andrew, thank you so much for your time being here with us tonight, but also thank you for the partnership, helping to make Restoring Hope with Crosswinds Counseling possible. We could not be here without you, and we greatly appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Andrew Green, the Assistant Executive Director from Shepherd Community Center. We'll be right back.
Shepherd works with both the first and second generation to break the cycle of poverty. It's a two-gen approach to say we want to help the parents and the students to help them have the tools for them to break the cycle of poverty.
You know, it's easy to think programs make a difference, But we know from 35 years of experience, relationships is effective.
In this world, we don't need more programs. We need to know that more people care for us.
In the heart of downtown Indy, at the corner of Pennsylvania and Maryland Streets, it's Prime 47, the city's only independent, locally owned and operated steakhouse, offering gourmet dishes, the highest quality steaks, fresh seafood, and an extensive wine list. Prime 47 specializes in large parties and events. So, whether it's dinner for 2 or 200, it's prime time you visit Prime 47, Indy's Steakhouse, for the finest in dining.
Worry, conflict, and fatigue don't have to rule your life. There are always challenges, and working with a counselor to navigate them may be the best decision for you. Crosswinds counselors are compassionate, qualified, and dedicated, and they can give you the support you deserve. Whether navigating crisis or seeking personal growth, this is your pivotal moment. Contact us today. Years from now, you'll remember today as the day hope was reignited.
Welcome back to Restoring Hope with Crosswinds Counseling. Tonight in our Counseling Corner segment, Crosswinds counselor Grant Anderson is back with us, and his focus tonight is the new year and how you can set healthy goals for 2022.
Hi, welcome. My name is Grant Anderson from Crosswinds Counseling. Today I want to tell you a little bit about setting goals for the new year. So one of the acronyms we like to use is SMART goals. And so that stands for specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and timely goals. And so as we look at goals you're setting for the New Year's and your New Year's resolutions, you want to make sure, first of all, that they're specific. You have a specific purpose or a goal, not a general mindset. So, I want to improve my health is a little bit too general. Saying I want to be able to run a mile in a certain time is much more specific. You want to have it measurable so that you know when you've achieved your goal. If it's too general and not specific enough, you're not going to be able to measure that goal and get to where you want to go. Achievable, you want a goal that is realistic for you, that you have an achievable mindset. An example would be saying, by the end of the month I want to run a marathon. May not be achievable if you've never run before. So you want to make sure that you set your goals appropriate for your level and what you're trying to end up with. Relevant, you want the goals to be relevant to you. If it's not relevant, then it's not going to be internally motivated and you're not going to most likely follow through. A lot of people don't stick with their New Year's resolutions, is what research shows us. So making sure that you have a relevant goal to yourself is much more likely to achieve and make a goal that's going to work for you. And finally, timely goals. You want to make sure that you have a timetable to your goal so you know when to look at when I'm going to achieve it by. That timetable might be different for each goal. It might be a month, it might be 3 months, it might be by the end of the year or even halfway through the year. But giving yourself a way to look at when do I want to accomplish my goal by. The hopes was with using this acronym SMART that you are more likely to achieve your New Year's resolutions and more likely to achieve your goals. So I hope this helps, and I hope you guys have a great New Year's. Happy New Year's. We'll see you in the next year.
Thank you, Grant. Great ways to think through how we move into 2022. It's time to meet our next guest. Matt Decker is here from Indiana Wesleyan University. IWU is not only a wonderful university, but a great partner with Crosswinds Counseling to provide mental health services to Indianapolis. Matt, thank you for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
Indiana Wesleyan has been in Indianapolis for more than 20 years now, but for those that don't know IWU very well, tell us about your university, kind of maybe on the whole, and here the presence in Indianapolis.
Sure. Indiana Wesleyan has been here in Indiana for over 100 years. And we're up in Marion, the main campus. But in the 90s, we saw a need to kind of branch out and move beyond just kind of a up north school and have regional campuses throughout the region, in fact, and we've slowly expanded through the years. Indianapolis was one of the first places that we expanded to. And so we have several sites here in Indianapolis and in the general area used for education centers, We have staffing services that we provide. And then, of course, we partner with community agencies to provide some space to do a variety of things, including Crosswinds with the Counseling Center.
Yeah, so on the north side of Indy, we have a partnership where we share space. We have some of the space there on your campus. Why has been partnering with mental health services been so important from the IWU perspective?
Well, it's part of our core as far as our mission is changing the world. And we seek to serve the communities in any way that we can. We provide a lot of educational programs around mental health services, social work, psychology, addictions counseling, and those kinds of things. And it's a natural fit to partner with agencies in the communities that are actually providing the services. It's really important to us, to me specifically, that we keep our finger on the pulse of what's happening in our communities. What can happen in academia is, we go off in our ivory tower somewhere and we do research and we teach, and we forget about what's happening in the real world.
Right.
So by partnering with agencies in the communities, we can keep kind of an eye on, and the flow of information can go both ways, what the practical side of things are and then what the academic side of things are.
You say for you specifically because you're in behavioral sciences. And this is such a great need. I mean, I would imagine that you're seeing all kinds of students flock to the behavioral sciences because in the real world, there is such a need to provide those services.
Absolutely, yes. And the pandemic has changed that significantly. Mental health needs have gone up significantly in the past couple of years. Our programs, social work, psychology, all the behavioral sciences are growing. Students, the communities, I think, sense the need, and then students are responding. Indiana, of course, is struggling with the opioid epidemic as well. We're partnering with people on those fronts too, trying to see what can we as an institution do in collaboration with partners for the community.
Your students are all age ranges. You have traditional students in that 18 to 22, but you also have adults. Do you find more of the adult population is drawn to the behavioral sciences, or are 18, 19, 20-year-olds seeing the value of getting into this line of work?
I think it's both. I think everyone who's, maybe not everyone, but a lot of the people who are driven or drawn to the behavioral sciences have some sort of desire to serve. And this is a great way to do that for them. A lot of people have either come into contact with mental health concerns themselves, or they have family members or friends, or just other experiences growing up or in their lives generally, where they see the need and they understand that this is the training that they need in order to serve those populations.
Yeah. Matt, I think that a faith-based foundation is important no matter what your major is, no matter what you're studying, but perhaps in this arena, more than any other, having that root of being faith-based seems critical.
Absolutely it is. And that's the great thing about Indiana Wesleyan is our programs provide the training and the evidence-based practice, all the latest research, while infusing that and fully combining it with a Christian theology. What's great about what we do is it's not you learn the secular practice and then you tack a Bible verse on top of it. It's really fully synthesizing those two ideas. And what's most exciting for me personally, because a lot of my own research is in this area, is how actually those two things go together very, very well. You don't have to pick and choose really. What we say is truth, and truth fits together really well.
Yeah, that makes sense. I like that. Truth fits together very well with other truth.
Absolutely.
Here, let me throw a big question at you as we kind of wrap up our time together. The whole world has changed. All industries, all organizations are having to pivot and figure out what the new normal is coming out of the pandemic. What do you think the state of higher education is in 2 years, 5 years, 10 years? It's a real simple question that you can probably answer in 30 seconds.
Right. I think people are looking for things that fit them and their lifestyle. I think especially for adult students, they're looking for, okay, how can I get the biggest bang for my buck? And what tactics and strategies can I use to really get me where I want to go? Traditionally, it was the 4-year college degree. That was the way everybody, this is your ticket to kind of economic upward mobility. Now we're thinking about micro-credentialing and other certificates and really specific skills trainings that people need to move up, to get that upward mobility that they're looking for. And the great thing about what we're doing is we're looking at, how can we offer those things in smaller bite-sized packages and still get some people college credit? So you're getting those credentials, you're getting those skills that you need as you move forward, but you're also getting some college credit while you're at that.
Makes sense. Matt, thank you so much, not only for being here tonight on Restoring Hope, but for the partnership that Crosswinds Counseling has with Indiana Wesleyan. I think it's already been fruitful, and we're excited to see what happens next and where it goes from here. So Matt, thank you for being with us.
You're welcome.
Matt Decker from Indiana Wesleyan University. We'll be right back.
Worry, conflict, and fatigue don't have to rule your life. There are always challenges, and working with a counselor to navigate them may be the best decision for you. Crosswinds counselors are compassionate, qualified, and dedicated, and they can give you the support you deserve. Whether navigating crisis or seeking personal growth, this is your pivotal moment. Contact us today. Years from now, you'll remember today as the day hope was reignited.
In the heart of downtown Indy, at the corner of Pennsylvania and Maryland Streets, it's Prime 47, the city's only independent, locally owned and operated steakhouse, offering gourmet dishes, the highest quality steaks, fresh seafood, and an extensive wine list. Prime 47 specializes in large parties and events. So, whether it's dinner for 2 or 200, it's prime time you visit Prime 47, Indy's Steakhouse, for the finest in dining.
Shepherd works with both the first and second generation to break the cycle of poverty. It's a two-gen approach to say we want to help the parents and the students to help them have the tools for them to break the cycle of poverty.
It's easy to think programs make a difference, but we know from 35 years of experience, relationships is effective.
In this world, we don't need more programs. We need to know that more people care for us.
Welcome back. Each week here on Restoring Hope, we take a few minutes to focus on the word hope. It's such an important word and something this world needs now more than ever. Tonight, Crosswinds executive Gordon Haynes shares thoughts on hope and joy, and as we head into the new year, he encourages us to seek out joy.
Hi, my name is Gordon, and I'm a member of the Crosswinds executive team. Today I want to talk to you about seeking joy. Why about seeking joy? We live in a world where marketing is king. Do you realize that? We're permeated with messages of you need to have this car, you need to wear these clothes, you need to have this product, or your life is less than acceptable and you can't be happy. There's a phenomena called social media influencers. They have millions of followers that hang on their every word and hang on their recommendations and believe they can't be happy unless they have the latest, hottest thing. It's exhausting, and it's a very unrealistic view of life. Andy Stanley has a study entitled The Comparison Trap, and in this study he states that we spend our lives comparing ourselves to each other, and therefore we evaluate our happiness based on that comparison, and that's an erroneous thought. He encourages us to not live in the land of What's the land of It's the fact that there's always someone that is faster, stronger, smarter, richer. There's always someone that's better. And if we live our lives comparing ourselves to others, we're really not doing what God asks us to do, because God doesn't compare us to others. God created each of us to be a unique person. He gave each of us our own mix of emotions and talents and skills, and he wants us to find joy using that he gave us. So I'm going to encourage you that instead of spending time comparing yourselves to others, Spend time understanding what God's purpose is for you. Spend time understanding how He wants you to use those gifts and use those talents to His purpose. There is where your true joy lies. Now, why do I talk about joy in a moment of hope? Because joy and hope are inexplicably linked together. If you have joy, you have hope, and if you have hope, you have a great life. So what are you looking for in life? Are you worried about what someone else has that you don't have and using that to assess your happiness? Or are you truly seeking the joy that God wants you to have? I choose to seek joy, and I hope you do too. God bless.
Tonight, you've seen the impact Crosswinds Counseling is having on this community through meaningful partnerships. Maybe Crosswinds sounds like a wonderful place to work for you, to build a career and a legacy. If you're a counselor, a therapist, or a mental health provider, and you would like to pursue a career with Crosswinds Counseling, good news. We are looking for great women and men to make a difference in the lives of real people in our community. There are job openings in other areas of the business as well. If you would like to join Crosswinds Counseling, you can visit the website that you're seeing on your screen right now, crosswindscounseling.org/careers. If you know of people who are looking for work in this field, please let them know about Crosswinds Counseling. Right now, we have such a huge need for people to join the team and provide this help. As our time comes to a close tonight, thank you again for spending a little time with us on this Thursday evening. Next week, we're going to kick off the new year with Crosswinds CEO Mark Terrell as he shares some of the exciting things that the future is going to bring to this organization and to Indianapolis specifically. Have a wonderful night. We wish you a very happy new year and pray that God blesses you in 2022. We'll see you next year.